The Canadian Writing Research Collaboratory was created to enable intersectional literary and cultural studies. We pronounce its acronym CWRC. Its forerunner and inspiration is the Orlando Project, which since 1995 has pursued the question of what a born digital literary history of women's writing could do. Orlando is a recuperative project at heart, working to promote the stories of women writers and awareness of their work as an intervention in the reinscription of the canon in digital space. It's also a feminist experiment in literary history, exploring what we can do differently using semantic technologies. Orlando was collaborative from the outset, involving a geographically distributed team of contributors ranging from student research assistants to the project leads who edited the work. Altogether, more than 150 people, from undergraduates to senior scholars, have contributed to Orlando, and its work is ongoing. Coordinating the asynchronous work of collaborators more than 2,000 miles apart over the web was a challenge, considering that the first widely adopted geographical browser, Mosaic, had appeared only in 1995. That is to say, web applications were incredibly rudimentary. But the web-based production system called the Document Archive was quite full-featured and robust enough to serve the project for more than 2 decades with few modifications. cwrc is the successor to the Orlando Document Archive, a virtual research environment built on 21st century open source software and standards and designed to support collaborative feminist workflows for a wide range of projects and content types. It recognizes the need for individual project identities, supporting differently themed homepages that enable access to and searching within that project's content. cwrc aims particularly to support projects advancing diversity in online content, as well as researchers from underrepresented groups. It was built to be broader because we knew from many conversations that there was strong interest in doing the kind of work that Orlando was doing, but that researchers lacked the infrastructure for it, and in particular for text encoding. Under the hood of Orlando is Extensible Markup Language, or XML, which structures the human readable text for display on the screen. More importantly, it encodes the intellectual priorities of the project, making aspects of women writers' lives, such as their complex cultural identities, or their experiences of violence, or their relationships with their publishers, reviewers, or other writers, searchable, and therefore visible in new ways. Orlando's biocritical profiles are accessible to readers, but the underlying markup means that, taken together, the profiles create what Alison Booth calls collective biography and mid-range reading, providing a lens that reveals shared structural patterns in what initially appears as individualized experiences, in everything from what level of education writers reached, what languages they studied, or how their works were received, through to whether their works were destroyed by fathers, brothers, priests, or by themselves. Because semantic markup is so key to Orlando and to so many other DH projects, like Editions, that use the Text Encoding Initiative guidelines, cwrc features a browser-based XML editor. It needs no installation or configuration and offers views both with and without the pointy brackets visible. There's a version that stores texts on GitHub so that anyone can use it for teaching, workshops, or their own collaborative projects. One of the shortcomings of the web generally for humanities research is the scattering of related content across multiple websites, behind different search systems, and locked in different data formats. This was a frustration from the outset with Orlando, given all the other projects on women's writing on the web. cwrc promotes granular interlinking based on researcher expertise by using linked open data standards. Both metadata forums and the markup environment incorporate lookups of authoritative identifiers that position cwrc to contribute to the semantic web. When you tag an entity in cwrc-writer, along with the XML, you can create a web annotation in RDF, the resource description framework that powers the semantic web. The named entity recognition vetting environment embedded in the editor allows experts to review and refine the results of machine detection of entities. Thanks to its sister project, the Linked Infrastructure for Networked Cultural Scholarship, QWERC will soon expose web annotations, along with RDF generated from specific metadata and XML structures, dynamically through a linked data endpoint. This means that QWERC not only supports searches across all of its women's writing projects, but its metadata and encoding also support the interlinking and aggregation of related materials both from within QWERC and across the global web of linked data. QWERC builds on Orlando's departure from the singular hyperlink to using the links as pathways out into multiple perspectives on an entity. Drawing on the link's infrastructure and agenda, it will use linked data to provide context, situate knowledge, and advance diversity. QWERC has from the start sought interoperability by using open source software, adopting standard metadata and data formats, and by providing application programming interfaces or APIs that use web standards. As it embarks on a major upgrade, it is contributing as an active partner to the Islandora community and beginning to gather development partners from amongst other institutions. The software for this next generation of QWERC will adopt the more generic name of LEAF, the Linked Editing Academic Framework. QWERC emerges from a feminist intersectional approach to research. It makes best practices in digital scholarship accessible to researchers without large grants, extensive digital humanities expertise, or technical staff. In building data linking into its fabric, it promotes open knowledge production. If, as Alan Liu argues, infrastructure carries the same weight and import in our current moment as culture did for earlier theorists, QWERC offers to critical infrastructure studies an instance of a platform that has evolved from a generation of commitment to collaborative scholarship in the service of diversity.